I'm glad to see you back again today. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the Resident Evil Remake. I played this on the PS4 on the Origins collection, and I played it together with my wife like we did with Resident Evil 8. And yeah, in this episode I'll give you my thoughts, and at the end I'll give you my rating. And before I start, again, I really love the Resident Evil series. It's probably my favorite video game series of them all. And after playing Resident Evil 8 with my wife, we decided, what the heck, let's just play them all. And I'm really familiar with the original Resident Evil game on the PS1 or the Sega Saturn, but I've never played the remake. Again, I never owned a Nintendo Gamecube, and I always wanted to play this game, but it never came to be. But now finally, after almost 20 years, I played it, and yeah, let's just dive into it. The PlayStation 4 cover, as you might know me now, is not my cup of tea. It's a compilation cover, and yeah, this always is kind of uninspired for me. But the original cover I kind of like. It's really simplistic and minimalistic, but yeah, it's not a bad cover. Let's get over to the music. I really liked it. It was a rearrangement of the original soundtrack. The original Resident Evil soundtrack is one of my favorite video game soundtracks of them all. It's so eerie, spooky, atmospheric. There are lots of memorable tunes. The safe room music, just to name one. It's probably the most famous one, but there are so many other cool, atmospheric and spooky soundtracks, and yeah, I really love it. And they did a great job in Resident Evil Remake, and it felt kind of fresh, but at the same time it was the original, so I was really pleased with the soundtrack. Let's get over to the graphics, and this is where the game shines. I personally think even after 20 years, this game still looks amazing. It was breathtaking. This game, again, is, I think, around 20 years old now, and it looks so gorgeous. You have the tank controls, which means fixed camera angles. The characters looked awesome. The environment looked so atmospheric. You had like lightning storms and moving shadows and flickering lights and candles and rain and all these ambient stuff, and it really felt like you're trapped in this mansion, and yeah, you have to get out of there. That was so cool. I really liked it. The cutscenes were something I didn't like so much. The faces of the characters kind of had lots of close-ups, and the faces looked wooden. They weren't bad, but again, the in-game graphic, that was where the game is still shining in my opinion, and it was really awesome. The gameplay, if you like tank controls, if you like the original Resident Evil controls, you love this game. And I really love the gameplay. Me and my wife played this together, and we were solving the puzzles together. We were trying to finding the keys and trying to progress through the mansion and the courtyard and whatnot. And it was really awesome. The game felt, gameplay-wise, pretty familiar to the original, which was quite cool. The original, the last time I played it was like almost 20 years ago also. So the awesome thing about this game, it kind of felt familiar, and it really felt like you've been there before, but at the same time it felt really fresh. They added some new stuff in there. There was one new kind of chapter with Lisa, the character. That was pretty eerie, really spooky. I loved it. It was even, I would say, terrifying and horrible, but it was awesome. And they added new stuff here and there without changing the formula of the original game. And I really liked that. So they did a great job gameplay-wise. The controls were awesome as well. Again, if you like tank controls, there's no problem at all. But I personally love the tank controls. I think the best Resident Evils for me are the Resident Evils with tank controls, I think. But yeah, other than that, the atmosphere was great. The story is quite simple in the first Resident Evil game, which I like, because the more we progress through the main games and the spin-offs, the more convoluted the story gets and all over the place, and it's hard to follow. But the first game is pretty straightforward. I like that. And the character dialogues, in the original, it was more innocent, and it was back in the mid-90s, and you were paying too much attention. You were just a kid playing this game. But now, 25 years later, playing this, they also stuck with most of the dialogue, I think, as far as I can remember. Again, it's 20 years ago. But yeah, the dialogue is kind of wooden, a bit shallow, and yeah, but this I think is not what Resident Evil is about. It's not about the story or the dialogue. It's more about the atmosphere and the setting. You basically are trapped in this mansion, and there are zombies and monsters everywhere around you, and you try to escape. And yeah, it's a horror game, horror survival classic, trying to find ammunition for your gun and trying to preserve it and not to use too much, because you can run out of ammunition really fast in this game. And yeah, the horror survival aspect, that's the important thing, combined with the atmosphere. And yeah, we had a great time playing this game. After 20 years, I finally played it. And did I like it more than the original? It's hard to tell because the last time again I played the original was around 20 years ago. And it's one of my absolute favorite games of all time. But yeah, the remake, they did a great job preserving the original, but adding enough new stuff to keep it fresh and exciting. There were still jump scares. There was this one, at the beginning, there's this one thing where one of the zombie dogs burst through the window, and that was one of the most famous jump scares at the beginning of the game, and you were kind of expecting it, but then it didn't happen. But then you had like new kind of zombies and new kind of jump scares here and there, and this really like, yeah, had me at the edge of the seat and scared me a lot. So what do I give Resident Evil Remake? I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It looks awesome, even after 20 years. I had a lot of fun playing it, and yeah, it's a great game. It's a great remake. Is it better than the original? I can't tell. I think they're like equally good. I personally have a big nostalgic value for the first, or nostalgic feel for the first game, and I think lots of people maybe will choose the remake because it looks more modern, it plays more fluent, and yeah, but I love the pixel art in the first game, the whole atmosphere also. But yeah, my wife gave it an 8.5. She loved it. She enjoyed it. Now we are going to play with Chris Redfield because the first time around we played with Jill Valentine. And after that, we probably will play Resident Evil 0 because it's on the collection as well. And then yeah, we move forward to the other games. We had a blast. And yeah, I can't wait to play and revisit the older games because yeah, it's one of my favorite video game series of all time. So that's from me. Thanks so much for watching. I see you in the next episode. Take care.